Good day everybody, thank you for joining me on the channel, and in today's technical analysis update we will be studying Velo. So over the last few days, Velo has actually broken out of a major level of resistance and is now hinting at a push higher. We will digest this breakdown, where we could be heading next, and again, nothing that I say is financial advice. Let's dive into the content. So looking at Velo on the weekly time frame here, we had this neckline of resistance at 0.015, and Velo had been struggling to break out of this neckline for around 126 days, so roughly 4 months of building this base under this level of resistance. So, you know, it's been a long duration, it's been frustrating, but nonetheless, the structure, the price action has been a bullish sort of accumulation slash higher low buildup. So from this initial 0.008 low, we then ran into the neckline at 0.015, of which you can see we've had multiple wicks of previous contacts on this resistance zone. And at this point, we then came back for that higher low in June. Now, fast forward to July, you can see last week, we actually got the clean breakout. And this is Velo's highest weekly candle close here in the last 4 months, sitting at 0.0165. Fantastic signs. It's taken out all of the prior wicks as well. This is what we wanted to see. It's finally pushing through. Now, simply the breakout target for this move, we go from the neckline of resistance back down to the first low of support, and then we'll drag this up to where we've broken out the neckline, and it gives us a target roughly of a 0.022/23. Now, this is a very interesting area and is the target that we've been looking at for the past sort of few weeks in the videos here if we did get this clean break. And you can sort of see that around this sort of area, there's there's points of contact for previous levels of support. So this was a support zone in December. You can see we had the breakout, fell back to it for support, and then unfortunately placed a lower high here, which indicated the depleting buying pressure. And this is where we lost that support in January. And we also had this prior high in May 2024, which was a resistance zone. So there's multiple points of contact around this sort of area. There's like a block of previous support and resistance. And I think this is where Velo is trying to get to from this double bottom break. So you can evidently see that this is a macro double bottom after a higher, after building a higher low base. And what we've got is the clean break here. So all we need to see now is the continuation towards this breakout target. Now, do keep in mind, I think over the short term on the lower time frames, you know, we do climb up the stairs here. We may have a week or two where we pull back for a little bit, but nonetheless, I think this breakout is a strong sign for pushing up towards this target. Now, if we use previous data to analyze this breakout, okay, now because we've had something very similar like this pattern play out before in a previous correction. So we know that Velo corrected from this 0.038 high, roughly around 78%. The last sort of macro correction around a similar sort of size was from May 2024, correcting back down all the way until sort of June 2024, and this was about a 76% correction. Now, after both of these corrections bottomed, what you'll notice on both occasions is they both built a double bottom structure. Okay, so if I just get this read off a little bit here, they both built this sort of double bottom structure. You placed the low, ran into a level of resistance, came back for a higher low, and then broke out. Fast forward to where we are now. We had that correction, 78% correction, and we've built this base double bottom where you've had a low, ran into resistance, came back for a higher low, and now we're getting the breakout. So essentially, so to speak, if we're rinse repeating the similar sort of move and we're just getting the breakout like it did here in August 2024, we've just got it a month early. We've got it in July 2025. Then it looks like we've got the next sort of 3 to 4 weeks where we could see a rinse repeat move. Again, if we're looking at something like that and we're looking to push up to these targets, excuse me, if we're looking for something similar, you can see that, you know, over the next few weeks, this would bring us up to that sort of range, okay, if we're rinse repeating it. Now, the only thing that's different about this bottom, where you've got the double bottom here that we've been building for the last 4 months, and this double bottom that we had sort of last year around the same time period, is that this double bottom only took around 2 months. I think it was about 56 days until we actually got the clean breakout. So if you think about it, this double bottom that we've been building in this, so after this 78% correction, has taken double that time, if not longer than that. So it's been a more frustrating, drawn out process. But nonetheless, just like the prior correction, once it put the macro low in, it ran up and created a level of resistance and then built a higher low before getting the clean break. we've done the same. We've come back to 0.008, created the first low, ran into resistance, and then pulled back for a higher low, and now we're sort of getting the break. So if we can follow suit here, it's simply a rinse repeat, 76, 78% corrections, double bottom, breakout, breakout. And if I get all of this off and just look at that for a second and just look at the double bottom, again, we'll use the same process we used to get the target. So we'll go from the neckline down to the first low. Okay, and you'll see that once it actually broke out of the resistance, it ran up to its target in a few weeks. So I think we're doing something very similar here, just on a longer duration. You've got the neckline right here, okay, and from the neckline going back down to the first low sort of candle closes, we drag this up, and you can see that it does bring us up to that 2.2/2.3 area, which is a previous level of support and a resistance on prior contact. So I think that we are on the way. It's just taking a lot longer to get here, and it just goes to show that when you're patient, you know, you do tend to sort of get rewarded, and it looks fantastic. Now, I think in the near short term, we could see either continuation and get quite impulsive, but I do think we'll come back down quite quickly if we do that. So again, as I said, you gradually want to sort of climb up the stairs, and I think that, you know, this was a wave 1 from the low. This is a wave 2. Right now, we're sort of in that wave 3, I think, which pushes up to that 0.022 eventually. Come back for a wave 4, and then get the wave 5, and essentially work our way back up to these 0.038 highs. And what we would have is some sort of V-shaped recovery in a sense here, or some sort of curved cup, and just getting back up to where we came from. And it's just been a long, drawn-out process of 5-wave correction, 78%, come down to the lows, build a higher low structure, double bottom, break out, meet the target, come back for a higher low, and then go back to where we came from. And this is really starting to flip the switch and reverse this downtrend and get things kicking into gear. All when Bitcoin's putting in new all-time highs, and we're pushing towards the time that looks like altcoins could really start picking up here. So, you know, it looks fantastic. It looks great. We could be on a V-shaped recovery on a macro period here. We've broken the neckline of resistance. The target's to 0.022/3. And, you know, if we do come back, just simply look for this higher level of support. Okay, if this is, say, potentially a fake out, and we're going to come back here from this, which is a potential, we have to see that as a potential. We could come back for some sort of ABC, get a third point of contact, and then at this point is when we decide to go for that impulsive move, and then you create 3 points of contact on this trend line. But again, at the moment, I don't see that. What we could initially do, which would be the most bullish scenario, is backtest the 0.015 resistance that we were struggling to break for 4 months, sort of come back here to that previous resistance, turn it to support, and then continue higher to our 0.023/24 targets. Nonetheless, Velo has broken out. We've waited so long for this. I think the next couple of weeks, regardless of short-term pullbacks, we're going to get towards that 0.024 target that we've been eyeing up for many months. Before I go, the last thing I wanted to point out, which is why I'm sort of on the sideline of potentially coming back for a small pullback to support, is if we look at the stock RSI on the weekly, it is at overbought sort of territories at the moment, and it doesn't necessarily always mark a top, okay, being at levels of sort of 93. But if we look at the price right now and go off previous instances, so you can see that we're at this high. We've taken out the previous highs, fantastic, put a new weekly sort of high for the first time in 4 months, but the stock RSI is a little bit overbought. Now, if we go back to previous instances, the last time we was in similar levels was in December 2024, and this was a sort of local top. Go back to this, even this one here, where you just started entering oversold. You can see that this was a sort of toppy area before coming in for a correction. Going back to May 2024, which is the highs we're trying to get back to at 0.023. You know, this was also a local top. So potentially we could, you know, it doesn't have to mark the top, because this can stay in overbought for some time. And that could be the case until we get to 0.024. But I just wanted it to use it to say, hey guys, you know, just keep an eye on this, get the MACD on, and look at what's going on with this. Again, zooming into the lower time frames may also help with that, because it may paint a different story and show strength with the trend that we've actually got, which is a reversal. So in my honest opinion, it does look like we are starting to get this sort of recovery back up to where we've come from. And it's just a process of trusting the journey now. You know, we've got the signs, we've got the breakout. It's just all about holding this journey and holding this ascending support. And I do think that eventually we will push back to the highs we've come back from. So yeah, that's it from me, guys. 0.022/24 is the breakout target we're looking for over the next couple of weeks. Could pull back to hold 0.015 as support before initially getting that continuation higher. And in worst case scenario, if we do come back over the next couple of weeks, just look for the ascending support line that we've been holding ever since we placed these candle closes in April this year. So I hope you've enjoyed the content, guys. From Chart Nerd TA, take care. Peace out.